He smiled when he said it. Not at me. At the screen. At a number I hadn't seen before. His hand moved too fast when he noticed I was there. Just a click. One small tab closed. Then a joke. Light. Careless. Like nothing mattered. I remember the sound of the refrigerator humming in the kitchen. The smell of burnt toast. The way he leaned back in my chair like he belonged there. I asked him what he was doing. He laughed. Said I worried too much. Then he stood up, patted my shoulder, and walked away with my spare key still sitting on the desk beside the keyboard. I looked at the screen again. My banking page was open. I knew I hadn't opened it that morning. That's when I realized something was very wrong. I live quietly. I always have. Same apartment for 4 years. Same early mornings. Same black coffee before work. I do freelance bookkeeping for small businesses, mostly from home, which means I notice details other people step over. Numbers that don't match. Dates that shift. Receipts that feel wrong even before I know why. My brother had never understood that about me. He was the kind of person who believed confidence could replace effort. Loud laugh. Quick charm. Always a reason something wasn't his fault. He moved through life like doors should open for him because they always had. Family helped him. Friends covered him. Girlfriends forgave him. And when none of that worked, he made a joke and waited for people to get tired. A month before that morning, he'd asked if he could stay with me for a week or two while he figured some things out. That meant a breakup, unpaid rent, and a car payment he hadn't mentioned until my mother called asking whether I could be patient with him. A week became 3. Then 4. He took long showers, borrowed clothes without asking, and left half-finished plans all over my kitchen table. At first, nothing was dramatic. Just small things. He started asking odd questions. Whether my clients paid me by wire or check. Whether I kept savings in one account or split it. Whether the bank still made you wait 3 days for larger transfers. He asked in the same loose tone people use when talking about the weather. Casual. Throwaway. Easy to ignore if you wanted to. Then I noticed he paid more attention when I unlocked my phone. Once, I came back from taking out the trash and found him standing near my desk. Not touching anything. Just standing there, looking down. He smiled like he had every right to be in that part of the room. Another time, I found a folded piece of paper near the couch with the last 4 digits of my account number written on it. Not the full number. Just enough to make me stop. When I asked him about it, he didn't even look embarrassed. He said, "You leave stuff everywhere." I was just trying to help. That night, I called my mother. I told her something felt off. Not theft. Not yet. Just wrong. I said he'd been hovering around my desk, asking about my accounts, acting too interested in things that didn't concern him. She sighed before I even finished. "He's your brother," she said. "He's embarrassed enough already. Don't turn everything into a crime scene." I almost laughed at that. Not because it was funny. Because it was familiar. My brother always survived on other people's refusal to believe the worst. The next morning, I changed one password. 2 hours later, I found my desk drawer slightly open. That drawer was where I kept old bank mail, tax papers, and a small notebook I never moved. The notebook was upside down. He was in the kitchen when I noticed. Making eggs. Humming. Completely relaxed. I didn't say a word. That was the part that changed everything. Because until then, he still thought the only danger in the room was my suspicion. He didn't understand that silence could be a decision. So I stopped reacting. And I started watching. I didn't change everything at once. Just enough. One account first. Then another, 2 days later. I kept my routine exactly the same. Same login times. Same work hours. Same coffee in the same chipped mug on the same side of the desk. If he was watching, I wanted him to feel comfortable. The first piece of proof came quietly. A notification. Not from my main account. From a secondary one I barely used. It was linked to the same profile but didn't hold much money. I kept it for small transfers and client testing. The message was simple. New device logged in. I stared at it for a long time. The location wasn't exact. Just the city. But the timestamp was clear. 11:42 a.m. I hadn't logged in at that time. I checked the apartment. He was in the shower. I didn't knock. I didn't rush. I sat down and opened the login history. There it was. An unfamiliar device. Same browser type he used. Same operating system. No attempt to hide it. That was the first confirmation. Not suspicion. Not instinct. Fact. I didn't confront him. Instead, I created something new. A clean account. Separate bank. Separate email. No links to anything he had seen before. I moved most of my savings there in small amounts over 3 days. Not enough at once to trigger alerts. Just steady, quiet transfers. Then I left the original account as it was. Or at least, how it looked. The second piece of proof came 2 nights later. I had gone to bed early. Or at least, that's what he thought. I left my bedroom door slightly open. My laptop closed but not shut down. Screen sleep set longer than usual. At 12:18 a.m., I heard movement. Soft. Careful. Not someone walking through their own home. Someone moving through someone else's. I stayed still. Breathing slow. A few seconds later, a faint click. Then another. I waited 5 minutes before getting up. He was back on the couch. Phone in hand. Watching something. Volume low. Expression calm. I didn't look at him. I walked past him, straight to my desk. The laptop was open. That was enough. But I checked anyway. The banking page was there again. Different this time. A transfer window. Amount field filled in. Routing number entered. Recipient name partially typed. He hadn't finished it. Maybe I moved too soon. Maybe he heard something. But it didn't matter. Because the system had already recorded everything. I didn't close the window immediately. I took my phone out and opened the internal screen recorder. Slowly, I documented it. The account. The amount he entered. The timestamp. The partial recipient name. Then I went deeper. Transaction logs. Access history. Device IDs. Everything the system kept quietly in the background. I recorded it all. The third piece came the next morning. I checked my email. There was a security alert I hadn't seen before. Password reset attempt. Time, 2:03 a.m. Method, recovery questions. That made me pause. Because those answers weren't written anywhere. They were personal. Old memories. Things only family would know. I opened the activity details. 3 attempts. 2 failed. 1 partial success before being blocked. He hadn't guessed randomly. He knew. Or he thought he did. That was when the emotional part hit. Not loudly. Not all at once. Just a quiet shift. Because this wasn't just access. It wasn't curiosity. It was intention. He wasn't looking anymore. He was trying. Trying to move money. Trying to reset access. Trying to take something that didn't belong to him and walk away like it was normal. I didn't cry. I didn't call anyone. I didn't even sit down. I just stood there, holding my phone, looking at the screen until the feeling passed. Then I backed everything up. Cloud storage. External drive. Encrypted folder. 3 separate copies. No names. No labels. Just dates. When he woke up, he acted the same. Made coffee. Complained about the news. Asked if I had plans for the weekend. I answered normally. Because at that point, reacting would have been the mistake. The evidence was already stronger than anything I could say. And saying it too early would have given him time. Time to delete. Time to deny. Time to turn it into something smaller than it was. So I did the only thing that made sense. Nothing. Confronting them would have ruined everything. Once I had proof, everything became slower. More deliberate. I stopped checking things out of anxiety. I checked them like I was doing a job. Each morning, I reviewed the access logs. Same time. Same order. No emotion attached to it. There were more entries now. Not every day. But enough. He had figured out that the system didn't block him immediately. That gave him confidence. He started trying at different times. Late night. Midday. Once, even while I was in the room on a call. He assumed I wouldn't notice. Or maybe he assumed I wouldn't understand. That part still confuses me. I didn't change anything visibly. I let the old account sit there. Balanced. Available. Quiet. At the same time, I finished moving everything that mattered. Savings. Emergency funds. Client buffers. Even small amounts I usually ignored. By the end of the week, the account he was trying to access was almost empty. But it didn't look empty. I left just enough for it to feel real. Then I started building the rest. The first call I made was to the bank. Not the main line. Fraud department. I didn't accuse anyone. I explained patterns. Unauthorized logins. Repeated access attempts. Incomplete transfers. They didn't interrupt me. They asked for timestamps. Device logs. Screenshots. I gave them everything. At the end of the call, the woman on the line paused for a second. Then she said, "Don't confront anyone yet. Let us flag the activity internally." That confirmed what I already knew. This wasn't small. The second call was harder. A lawyer. Not someone dramatic. Not someone who wanted a story. Just someone who dealt with financial misuse and digital access. I sent him the files. He didn't respond immediately. When he did, it was short. Document everything. Don't alert him. This is enough to act when you're ready. That was the moment it shifted from personal to structural. It wasn't about what he did to me. It was about what could be proven. After that, I adjusted one more thing. I changed the recovery questions. Not to something random. To something close. Close enough that if he tried again, he would think he was right. But wrong enough that the system would log another failed attempt. And it did. Twice. Both times around midnight. Each attempt recorded. Each failure stored. Each timestamp added to the file. I didn't watch him while he did it. I didn't need to. The system watched for me. That was the part he never understood. He thought access meant control. But every move he made left something behind. By the second week, he relaxed. I could see it in how he moved. Less careful. More noise. He stopped closing doors fully. Stopped lowering his voice on calls. One afternoon, he laughed on the phone and said, "Yeah, it's basically done. Just waiting for the right moment." I didn't ask what he meant. I didn't need to. Because by then, everything was already in place. The bank had flagged the account. The lawyer had reviewed the material. The logs were backed up in 3 separate places. And I had one more thing. A scheduled meeting. Not at home. Not somewhere emotional. Neutral ground. Controlled. Documented. He didn't know about it. To him, everything looked normal. Same apartment. Same routine. Same brother who believed he was one step ahead. The night before the meeting, he ordered food. Left containers on the table. Watched something loud on his phone. At one point, he looked at me and said, "You're quiet lately." I nodded. He smiled like that confirmed something for him. Like silence meant ignorance. That was the last mistake he made. Because by then, silence meant timing. The next morning, he woke up late. Moved slow. No urgency. No concern. He thought he still had time. They thought it was just another day. It wasn't. I told him we needed to go out. Nothing serious. Just paperwork. Something about the apartment lease. He didn't question it. He never questioned things that sounded routine. We took my car. Late morning traffic. The kind that moves slowly enough to think, but not enough to change anything. He sat back, scrolling on his phone. Relaxed. At one point, he asked if we were going far. I said no. That was true. The building was only 10 minutes away. Glass front. Clean. Quiet. Not a place people expect anything to happen. We walked in together. Reception didn't ask questions. They were expecting us. That's when he looked at me differently for the first time. Not suspicious. Just curious. I told him to come with me. We went into a small meeting room. 2 people were already there. A man in a grey suit. A woman with a tablet open in front of her. My brother slowed down slightly when he saw them. Then he smiled. Introduced himself like this was something social. The man nodded once. Didn't shake his hand. Just asked him to sit. I sat across from him. No rush. No tension in my voice. No emotion on my face. The woman turned the tablet toward him. "Can you confirm this is your device?" she asked. He leaned forward. Looked at the screen. Paused. Then shrugged. "Yeah, probably." "Why?" She tapped once. The screen changed. Login logs. Dates. Times. Device signatures. Every entry lined up in order. He didn't speak. The man in the suit placed a folder on the table. Opened it. Printed records. Screenshots. Transaction attempts. Recovery question logs. Even the partial transfer he started and didn't finish. Everything clean. Everything clear. This activity was flagged by the bank, the man said calmly. We've been monitoring it for several days. My brother leaned back. Tried to laugh. Okay, so what? I live with him. I used his laptop. That's not illegal. No one interrupted him. He kept talking. Filling the space. Explaining things no one had asked. That was always his pattern. Talk until people got tired. But no one was tired. The woman tapped again. Another screen. Audio. Not loud. Just clear enough. His voice. From that afternoon. Yeah, it's basically done. Just waiting for the right moment. He froze. Not dramatically. Just stopped. The man in the suit closed the folder slowly. Unauthorized access to financial accounts, he said. Attempted transfer. Identity-based recovery attempts. We can proceed formally, or we can document this and restrict access permanently with legal notice. There was no anger in his voice. No threat. Just options. My brother looked at me then. Really looked. For the first time. Like he was trying to understand how far this had gone. I didn't look away. I didn't explain. I didn't need to. Because everything he needed to know was already on that table. He tried once more. Softer this time. It's a misunderstanding. No one responded. Silence held. Long enough for it to settle. Then the man slid a paper across the table. Sign here acknowledging the activity and agreeing to account restriction and non-contact regarding financial matters. My brother stared at it. Hands still. No movement. Then slowly, he picked up the pen. Signed. No speech. No argument. Just a small, controlled motion. After that, things moved quickly. Access revoked. Devices blocked. A formal notice issued. No charges filed that day. But everything documented. Everything preserved. We left the building together. Walked back to the car. He didn't say anything. Neither did I. At the apartment, he packed. Not fast. Not slow. Just steady. A bag. Then another. He didn't ask to stay. Didn't apologize. Didn't explain. At the door, he paused. Like he might say something. Then didn't. And left. The apartment felt different after that. Not empty. Just clear. That night, I sat at the same desk. Same chair. Same quiet room. No movement in the background. No questions. No watching. I opened my laptop. Checked my accounts. Everything exactly where it should be. No alerts. No flags. No noise. Just numbers. Stable. Untouched. I closed the screen. Turned off the light. And for the first time in weeks, there was nothing left to monitor. Nothing left to prove. Nothing left to protect. That night, everything was quiet.